All right. I think we're back. Sorry about that. Not really sure what happened, but apparently you should restart your computer more than once a month is the best I can come up with at this exact moment. But yeah, we're here and it looks like everything's working. I see the volume, I see the sound blasting out there. So hopefully that works now. Let me just bring up the Discord chat too. It lets me. Come on. All right. All right, very good. And we're in. Why was that so difficult? I don't know, but we made it. Cool. So, I'm a couple minutes late. I don't like being late, but unfortunately, the forced restart is what it is. And just double checking over here to make sure that the stream is going smoothly because it was not 3 minutes ago. But yeah, looks like we're good now. So we're gonna get into it. Today is July 3rd. It was about as short as any trading week gets. The trading week was a whopping 3.5 days. And surprisingly, it was a very good week, better than expected, if I'm honest. I did not think that I was going to hit the numbers I hit. Part of that is because of some stock sales that you'll see when we get into the trades. But overall, it was a great week and pretty happy with where things ended up. I think this number is actually a little bit lower now. We'll call it 102, something like that. I ended up buying. It's not even in the tracker yet because I'm not sure how many shares went through, but I was buying overnight or after hours ONDS holding, and just felt like I thought it was a good entry point. I was thinking about CSPs all day, ended up not doing it, and then last minute I was like, you know what, let's get some shares. So the annoying thing about that was it filled the shares in something like 20 different transactions, which was obnoxious because I just kept getting these notifications on my phone, and I swear some of these are like it filled 2 shares. It's like they're $1.85. Who has 2 shares that they're selling? I mean, like a 14-year-old kid who just got some lemonade stand money and was like, okay, now that it's gone up 7 cents, I'm going to sell this bad boy and reinvest into the lemonade stand. Um, but yeah, so anyway, I bought some of that last night. That's not reflected here yet. But otherwise, yeah, good week. We are at a run rate of 15K, which kind of blows my mind. I did make an edit that I guess is worth clarifying here. And like you can see it in the graph is actually changed. I essentially decided to reset my UNH cost basis this week, and I ended up putting the cost against the week where I sold the in the money CSPs originally because it was just making these wacky spikes. And at the end of the day, the timing doesn't really matter. It's a net, right? Ultimately, I'm looking across the year, and it actually makes it all make a lot more sense now when I look at it. So I'm kind of happy with how it looks and how it's set up. So I'm just going to keep it like that. Sorry if people think it's misleading. I don't think it is. Again, I couldn't really think of a better way to do it, but I think it was like one of these 2 weeks. Yeah, I think it wasn't 2 big weeks in a row, so it was probably this week here where it was like 28K or something because I bought 335 CSPs when it was at 305. So instead of having that giant spike, it actually smoothed everything out, and now it looks like it all makes sense. So again, I'm going to keep it that way. Hopefully that's okay with everybody else who's been following along. But overall, these positions are, I think, correct. This is right. This is right. This is right. Yep. 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 Actually, this is wrong. I'm sorry. This is now, um, that's actually now 1,200 shares. So I do need to edit that. That's correct. Caliber is correct. Lucid is correct, unfortunately. Kit's correct, unfortunately. Clove, Cooler, and Qubit. All of these unfortunate series of unfortunate events right here. Kind of wish I never really bought any of these, but here we are. And nowadays I'm sticking to, I would say the more reliable stuff, but I'm looking at half of these and it's like Calibur's kind of a meme. I think it'll be great, but a little memey. Arcat's definitely a meme. The rest of these are good. Although I hate deck. Yeah, I hate half my portfolio, apparently. We need to fix that. And we are fixing that over time. Otherwise, I'm a little bit lower on the cash position than I would normally hope to be going into next week. But part of that's because I bought back UNH, bought that back a little bit. I thought I was buying the dip, and then it just continued to dip. So there's that. But overall, still way, way up on the week. All-time highs for me. January was originally all-time highs, and now we're significantly above that after we kind of dug out of that hole I put myself in back in March. And it's been good. Year over year, 40% is amazing. I don't think anyone would complain about that. And overall, things are headed in the right direction. So really the goal is to just keep going. I mean, if I can average truly this run rate, there will never be a complaint that comes out of me unless hyperinflation hits and that number ends up being like the equivalent of $70 a week, right? But until that point, and until the point where we get to Nigerian trillionaire dollar bills, that's great. And I'll continue to be happy with that. We finished the week at a 1.34% return, and that's really pretty good. Like my target's 1%, 2% on occasion is fantastic. But, if you look at like a large portion of my position right now is UNH, and I don't expect that play to really pay off until August. So the fact that I've got 20% of the port tied up with, or 28% apparently, tied up with that play, it's not 28, it's like 20%. It's still pretty good return. That means that all the other equities that I'm wheeling are doing some heavy lifting with the intent that, again, when we look over time and don't focus on like the week by week, the goal will be that also has a really nice return. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. Hey, what's going on, Mr. Josh and Casey? Welcome to the stream. Glad to see that everything's working. Can you guys hear me okay? Like, any feedback would be great there, because I have no idea after I restarted the computer if everything's working right. Hopefully it is. Yes, we all hate deck. Although I gotta say, deck has been giving these little glimmers of hope throughout the last couple of weeks. I think we peaked at like 108, 109 yesterday. Hey, Foob. Awesome, dude. Good to see you. And perfect. Today finishing at 106, actually kind of good compared to where we've been. I ended up, well, we'll talk about that in the trades here in a bit, but I rolled them out. I had some CCs on that I rolled out twice, and I'm actually kind of glad I did, surprisingly, because I hate deck, and I do look forward to getting out of it. But yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. Only cash secured put that's live right now over the weekend is NBIZ at $46, and this is feeling pretty safe. I think I sold these for $1 each. Maybe it was a little bit more. And overall, it feels pretty safe. I will say I'm not as big of a believer in NBIZ as maybe some others on the server, on the Discord, that have been playing around with it. But you gotta push your boundaries, experiment, get a little bit into the AI tickers a bit more. Things like this, CoreWeave, some others are things that I'm trying to mess around with a little bit more. Oh, you sold at 103. Well, I appreciate your sacrifice so that the rest of us could enjoy $3 more a share price. Hey, if it makes you feel better, I haven't sold yet, so it could just as easily go back to 103 by the time I'm ready to cut that baby loose. So, nailing my eye. Oh, awesome, dude. Good to see you, man. I did not, the real name thing, I feel bad for people who don't want the real name thing happening on YouTube, but I've got it too on a different account, so like, I feel you. If you want, you can chat in the Discord instead of YouTube if you want that anonymity, but if you don't care, I don't care. So anyway, still above goal. It was actually, it did come down after I reset my UNH. So basically I took like an 18K hit, I think, across my earnings. It didn't come out this week, but across this past month of earnings. So, overall, with taking out 18K, but still being very green and realistically way above target at this point. Again, no complaints. So awesome. We'll get into the trades here, and this is, I know it's the boring looking thing, but it's probably the exciting part of all this, I would guess. All right, so let's kick it off with ONS. This is that Tron call out, and this is the most number of contracts I've ever sold in one slug or tranche, as Showcase likes to say. I'm not sure we got Showcase with us tonight, but I like to use his terminology on that one. Sold 150 CSPs, and we're only at 185, which is about, believe it or not, where I sold those 150s at. And then I think we got as high as like 220, 226. And I just put a limit buyback in for, originally it was 5 cents, but it was just not moving. And I actually wanted out of the position. So I took it at, I actually changed it to point 0.1, knowing that Fidelity will still try to give you the best fill that it can get. And I was positive that we were somewhere between 5 and 10. I didn't know what the number was. Just looking at the volume and the bid ask going back and forth, it was obvious that there had to have been some in the middle there. And I don't know who's able to sell those in the middle, because I can't. I have to do it in 5 cent increments. And I thought that was standard everywhere. But inevitably, you end up getting these like weird middle fills sometimes. So ended up selling that, got $1,000 paycheck basically for, I think I held it for a day. I think I sold it on Friday and bought it back on Monday, right? The 30th was Monday. So overall, that was a nice little trade. The note was, yes, I was 100% chasing premium. I knew it. That's fine. All good. It is what it is, right? Then we get to Archer, which I tried to get rid of last week. I had Archer CCs last week that just didn't hit. And they were in the money multiple times. And for some reason, I'm not seeing them at a glance here. They're somewhere in here. I made a lot of trades last week, more than normal for sure. I don't know. They're somewhere in here. If they're not, then I'm missing it and I need to write them back in. But I put Archer in. Oh, there it is right there. And it was in the money for like most of the week, but finished at 10.17. I'm like, okay, whatever. We all know Archer by now is like a swing trader's dream. If we were to look at that chart, let's bring that up on TradingView, actually. It's probably better to look at it there than on Google. We're all over the place. We got these repeated like sub 10 lows and these over 12 peaks. But then very quickly we got into this kind of tight 10 to 11 repeatedly, where we touched 10. We touched, maybe not there, somewhere around here, 11. Maybe we didn't get to 11 that week. Then we were back to 10, and we were back at 11, and then back at 10. So I ended up selling them here at 11. I think I actually hit like the absolute peak. It says 1106, right? I sold it at 1105. That was a limit sell on the shares. And I'm like, if it hits, it hits. It's better than what CSP or CCs I was playing anyway. And it did. It hit. So I made a quick 2,100. That's right. It was 1105. So 2,000 shares. You don't have to have much gain for 2,000 shares to pay off. And that was a nice little payday on just swing trading shares, which I don't do nearly as much as I should. But you heard me talk about it last week that I'm starting to work a little bit more uncovered, because there's just so much, or partial coverage in some cases, there's so much opportunity for buying and selling shares over and over and over. So I've been trying to do that a little bit, and honestly, it's been good. Then Reddit, I sold some CCs early in the week at 160. 225 was a great price. Actually, it was the best price we had until the giant green candle on like Wednesday for Reddit, or maybe it was Tuesday, which isn't that much further. But yeah, so like if we look at, here's the 30th right here, we had the spike, and I'm like, all right, 160 seems great, thinking that that's what the fib is. And I'm like, yeah, there's a good chance that this is a big fib. It's one of the important ones, I think, right? It's 1618. And typically like that's a big resistance bounce off point. And Reddit does that a lot, right? It bounces off that resistance a lot. But man, that candle was up in it all day in the 160 plus range. And I drew a line from this old channel I had. I never took this down. This was not a new line I drew. This is an old line where I was swing trading, swing trading, but mostly selling options back and forth and buying back repeatedly in this channel. And then we had this big spike out, but then we were kind of back in that channel before that inevitable giant dip, which, we've only now recovered and filled those gaps back from. Although I do worry a little bit about this new gap here. So I'm not surprised that we got here. I'm just surprised we were through it for so long in that day. But inevitably, we did end up while we touched that resistance line or support line, or resistance line, I suppose. We did ultimately bounce back and hang out back in this fib. Now, I do think we might have that cup effect going on here where we just like kind of, I don't want to draw, I guess I could draw more lines, but, kind of just slightly down to the right for a few days here or a few weeks, and then like pop back to this line where we're back in that 180 range. That's what I'm hoping for. And I know I'm definitely on that copium, having been up here in the past, but I think it's likely because I really think people are starting to go, oh, they make money. Yeah, their CEO is a spaz, but he is getting coached now. They've got that CMO guy or whatever the title was of the guy that's like trading or training him to better handle community relations. So I think it'll be good. I think we're going to see continued growth. I don't think we're going to get back to this point for a while, but I do think we're going to start working our way to this resistance line next. And, that could be somewhere around this time frame. Probably in line with earnings is my guess. And frankly, if we go through that line, sky's the limit because we never really sorted things out over here. This was actually a run up to earnings. You can see it here, right? It was a run up to earnings. And the earnings itself was also great here, which is the funny thing. And then we just plummeted for months, which, broke most people's soul. But we got through it. Yes, sir. I see you there too. Okay, let's go back to Archer for a second. Good question. How do I feel about Archer on the medium term? I know I jumped ahead to Reddit because I'm so excited about Reddit. Archer, I was drawing some lines. This is an old line too. And so overall, I think Archer has really good potential here. It's overall been bullish, although the chart's all over the place, I know. But I think we're going to have this by earnings. I think we're going to be back up in this area in the 12 to 15 range. I think that's where we're going to live next. And they do have some challenges. My biggest concern with Archer is the whole FAA regulation stuff because it's a much harder system to navigate than a lot of civilians understand. I'm a civilian, but I worked in aerospace for many years. And you can be as optimistic as you want and know everyone you know, but it's like one dork in a button-down shirt with a pocket protector that stops you from getting anything through because they're just not going to sign their name to it. And you can pressure them all you want, but these people, they live in that all day, every day. They don't care. They wield all the power, and there's nothing really you can do about it. So you just have to have good relationships, but then you have to have your stuff together. Now, I did see reading through the subreddit that there's a lot of stuff going on where people are starting to read into the reporting and the documents that they're submitting to the FAA in that they're actually further ahead than it looks. Now, that is speculation. They're possibly correct. But until we get to this next earnings cycle or news pops out ahead of then, we don't really know that, right? So I'm most definitely cautiously optimistic, but I will tell you, I won't have a large position going into earnings. I'll probably have a position, and it might just be CSPs, but I don't think I'm going to be holding 2,000 shares or more as we get close to earnings. I do think there's a potential for a run up into earnings, as there often is. Not just with them, but others, although they had the big run up after. Well, they had both. They had a run up into earnings and they had a great earnings call, obviously. So that's kind of where my head's at. I know like anything that's like, well, you didn't tell us the answer. Well, nobody knows the answer. That's my best guess of I think it'll be good trending for the near term. And then, as we get into the summer, if they deliver on the things that they've promised, it's going to be good because like that's a true new business segment. And I think it'll get people excited. It'll be one of those things that people are like, oh yeah, I need that in my life. What's going on, Burrito? Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you. All right. So that was about Archer. I think we beat Reddit already into the ground. It doesn't take very long. But overall, I was happy with the trade that I made there. And I decided, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, that I was going to stay uncovered for a bit because sometimes things feel off is the best way to put it. And Reddit's definitely one of those where that tends to be the case where it can just spike 10% and then you're just locked out. You feel locked out. You feel bad. And while it does retest, like if you look back at original runs here, there was no breaks, right? This was all gas, no breaks from basically here on. Now, I did make money here with some CCs and stuff because it was a slow burn, but realistically, once we got to this spike, if you were covered, you were out. And I did not want to be out again. So a lot of this was generally uncovered until we hit a channel. And I was pretty certain that like we were between earnings. And so you could see like we had earnings. We had all this like reckoning with what the earnings meant. And then all of a sudden we're like, okay, 150, 160 feels good. We'll just hang out here for a bit. And like even though this line is here, we definitely had moments where we kept dropping into the 150s. So it was great. It was great for swing trading. But then again, like here, I stopped covering. Once you start having some of these like consecutive giant bars, you just got to be careful because it just goes wild. And we're kind of in that spot again. So I think we're about to hit a new channel. And then I'm not covering as we get close to earnings. I do think this is going to be the earnings where we where we finally get another pop like we did way back here. Because it's all good news. Like they literally only have good news that they've shared for every earnings. And at some point, that's going to catch up with the actual stock price and valuations. That's my take on it. What's going on, Free Baller? I wonder who that could be. My merch man. I love it. Good to see you, dude. Do you denote to the Discord when you stop covering? Technically, yes, right? In the signal, well, I don't want to say signals. We're not a signaling Discord, as anyone who's a member knows, right? We're all about teaching how to do this stuff. But when you exit a position, so what I do is I 100% every single trade that I do, with the exception of the overnight ons trade, which I will put in, but I did that literally in the living room when I was hanging out with the family. I'm like, we're gonna do this. Everything is posted there, and when I post it there, if I show that I exit, until I get back in, I'm not back in. And there were actually some conversations that went on in this channel that you're talking in here, where I'll typically say like, yeah, I am not in it yet. I'm not sure I'm even going to get in it. It doesn't feel right. There were a couple people who jumped in with like at the money CCs at like 150. I felt a little bad, but like I get it. Nobody really knows. I can't say that I knew for sure what was going to happen, but like at this point, I think a couple people got in at exactly this point going like, yep, that's the new channel. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to wait. And so I left all 1200 uncovered. So I try to communicate as much as I can, but like some of these decisions happen somewhat quick, but usually we have time to talk about it. Lord Marr, sad that Reddit is pricing you out. Yeah, dude, it's expensive again. It was, okay. I know I was the crazy person on the corner screaming about why is not everybody buying more. At this point, I had 2,200 shares, proving my conviction personally. But like, I don't know, you can't make people do stuff. And there were so many other opportunities. Like, I get it. Everything was down at this point. I mean, we're talking tariff mania right here. But that was a juicy price. I mean, it's no different than buying Hood at 35 at this exact point, and now Hood's almost 100, right? This is actually kind of a similar run. This is a 2x. Hood is not quite a 3x, but they're both in that neighborhood. And I think anything that you saw that was a company that you like, it's just a great learning, historical learning that yes, as we always say, it will come back. And no, nobody perfectly times the bottom, although I most definitely bought shares at 80. Like that was ridiculous. I had limit buys at 80 actually, and you can see we touched under 80 for like a millisecond. And you just have to decide what is your conviction going to be. And then really a lot of it, like we talk about selling options all the time, but more and more I'm very convinced that you just need some amount of patience. You don't, as much as I love selling options, like if you sold options here, you were out here and then got back in and then back out, right? Like, which is fine. But like sometimes it's okay to leave stuff uncovered for a week or two. What I like to think of is I have my entire portfolio available to tap into. And at any given time, whether it's cash or like my UNH position right now, sometimes a portion's uncovered, and that's okay. As long as I'm still getting 1% a week, I'm happy. I mean, I can't think of many people who aren't happy with that. You do the math and you see what that comes out to be. So yeah, I mean, like you gotta consider that as you're looking at any stock when it bottoms out like that. So I apologize for that tangent. We took a long time to talk about like two stocks here. But anyway, I ended up getting out of Reddit there. I took my $1,100 and just said, yep, I'm out and I'm going to hang out for a bit. And I'm glad because I think I got out here at a good spot. We actually would not have gotten assigned in hindsight, which again, you never know. But that was one of those moments here where it just as easily could have kept going. And you're like, do I really want to exit, 1,000 share position? Not really. So you would have potentially rolled out, and rolling out is like a death sentence with Reddit because if you found yourself stuck here and you rolled out, you're rolling out again, right? And you can roll out forever, but you're kind of leaving money on the table by your net credit being pretty weak. And it's not bad. It's just also not the best. So you got to do what you think feels right. But instead of being in that like rolling, okay, here's the problem I have with rolling. I don't like the fact that I'm thinking about it all the time. Like it's when you roll out, like you're stuck for a while. And I have a roll example I can show where I'm happy to be stuck for a while. But when it's a stock that you like and you're watching it run over and over and over, it's one of those things where it's like, I'd rather just let it run. And it may not, but at least, there's no rush. You can always jump back into it. You've not been doing that. Yeah. Well, I mean, patience is a virtue, as they say, and none of us have it as traders, and especially if you're staring at charts daily. I roll on occasion. I don't like to roll a lot. I will give an example of a roll. You'll see I have two live rolls right now, but generally I don't. Generally, I just let it go. I'm very frozen about it. Elsa would be proud of me. So, all right, we talked about Reddit. Next up is MicroStrategy. This was a funny one. I actually, I saw that I made this play where I sold 385 cc's, and like this is a good example of why it's best to not do anything sometimes. Because this week, Master, as I like to call it, MicroStrategy now, right? I sold that 385 cc somewhere over here, and I guess I could open up the this charts a little bit better for looking at like a continuous view across the 5-day period, but I sold it somewhere over here, right? I think it was like right here, right? Things that I caught a falling knife. I didn't think it was a falling knife. I thought we were, if you look at like the last month, we definitely have this channel of this 370 to 390 or 400, I guess now going on. It was 390. And I'm like, I don't think we're going to go all the way back to 370, right? I mean, it's been a pretty strong, we're pushing. We're higher highs, higher lows. We're trying to break out here. But sold the 385 here. And then, by the end of the day, we were 373. I remember looking at the end of the day going like, oh, man, that one's going to be underwater. I mean, I sold it for $5, so like that's cool. So my 385 was really 380 cost basis, but still $7 under that, especially for strategy, is not the biggest deal. But still, you kind of get like that pit in your stomach. You're like, ugh. Now I got to think about this, right? And then I'm like, yeah, or I could just do nothing. And I did nothing. And by the next day, it was at 400. I mean, not only 400, I think, today we hit 412. So I bought it back at a very nice profit. It was 85%, I think, very close to that. Whatever. I guess I could do the math here real quick. It was 84 divided by, was it 475? I said 5. It was 475. So yeah, it was almost 85% profit. And I was happy with that trade, right? So got out of it with the intent of getting back in, by the way. And I thought I would have an opportunity. And actually, we did get an opportunity because we finished a little bit closer to 400 than I expected. I thought we were going to be in this 410 range. So I thought about some tight calls at the end, at the money calls. Ended up deciding, you know what? It's a short week. Already hit my target on a short week. Whatever. We'll let it go. So again, patience / doing nothing can be magic at times. Then we've got Hims. Oh, anybody else in Hims out there in the YouTube world? I mean, I wish I could see everybody raise their hand because I got to imagine there's a lot of you who have at least thought about messing with Hims in the past couple of weeks. But yeah, I was all over Hims, man. It was a funny one because so what I did was I sold 48 CSPs and then I bought them back for, nothing, like pennies, which was pretty awesome. So that was like a 95%er or 90%er. I guess that's a 90%er. And then I was like, yeah, let's do it again. So this is going to get a sign because not only did I sell, this is a roll. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so this is a roll. Okay, here's an example of when I do roll. I like to roll at the end of the week, roll up when you can get a nice credit. So I did sell this for profit, but it was as a roll that I sold it. And I ended up selling a new one at 49. Now, turns out both of them would have gotten a sign. Oh, well. But yeah, I thought, it was on a real nice trend at the end of the day here. Let's take a look. Hims. It was a good trend. Here, this is where I rolled at, like literally at this point right here, which is ideal because it had the best net credit I could get as it was going up like that, because the value of the 48 was dropping much more rapidly than like the 49 was going down. So because in extrinsic versus intrinsic, right? Big change, big difference there. And so I got it. I was like, yeah, I'll take 30 cents a share for, how many did I do? It was a lot. 2,000. Okay. Yeah, it was kind of a lot. A decent sized position. And I was like, yeah, I'll take another $800. And honestly, totally fine with the shares. In this case, like, you might say, well, why didn't you roll out? Well, because I wanted the shares and like $1 difference. I mean, my net cost basis is 46 now, I guess. So 45.90. So like, that's good. I'll take that all day. And I'm looking forward to selling at the money. I'll probably sell $50 CCs next week, assuming we open up anywhere near where we are right now. And I think we're going back to that 52 range. Hims is another one that we could bring up on the chart. I might have done this last time, but it's like, look, we had and I should have drew some lines here, but we had a really nice channel. I guess I could. We had a really nice channel here there you go, in this range. And it's, I don't know, maybe like, whatever. I was thinking like 52. I guess we could just use that fib line if we really want, right? That's fine. We'll use the fib line. And I'm like, okay, we're in a 52 to 60-ish, right? 60, which is not too far from the fibs, I guess. But we were playing this repeatedly on the server, and this was great. I see no reason after the news has like really been broken down of how little of an impact it is on Hims that we don't end up back in that channel. I think we're going to be back above 52 here in short order. Certainly by the time we get to earnings again, like we'll run up. I almost guarantee. I can't guarantee anything, but I do think we're going to be very quickly back in this bullish trend. Although if you look, we did test off the fib today, so I don't know. It's questionable where we're going to end up, obviously, but I have a feeling we will see ourselves back here before earnings. That's what I'm thinking anyway. 60, yeah, dude, the 60 cc's was a common number. You also got 49s. All right. Yeah, 47's great, dude. You're above cost basis. That's a great number to have, I think. Hey, Flox, good to see you. Awesome. If you're listening on, you got well, you must be if you're talking about hymns. Shares, puts, and calls all at the same time. That's cool. Well, I mean, I guess if you've wait, so you mean covered calls or buying calls? This honestly, if anyone had the cojones to buy calls here, you made out. Like the premiums weren't even that expensive because the day here was so flat, so very, very flat that like I know it shows a giant red bar, but if you remember the chart that day, which I don't really know how to bring that up, I guess I gotta look at the monthly. 5 day doesn't show it, right? Monthly. This was like what, 2 days? 23rd, 24th, 25th. Yeah. So like if you bought calls here, the premium wasn't even that bad. And then, or the IV, I should say, causing the premium. So like there are definitely people who made a boatload going from here to here. I got to imagine. I did not. I know. But I did sell CSPs all the way up, which was pretty good. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Leaps would have been really good for sure. You gonna strangle accidentally. Hey, that's cool. Did you make money? That's all that really matters, right? Um, yeah. I lost my chat. Sorry. So yeah, it was a great play, and Bob Dog, one of our Theta Daddy coaches on the Discord, called it day one. He was like, "Dude, if you're not buying," he had some good memes that he posted on After Hour too. But if you're not buying hymns at 42, don't complain when you're like, oh, I wish I had bought it at 40 when it's at 60 next time, right? Like, because that's what people do constantly. Oh, what is that? I didn't know you could do that. I just clicked on it accidentally, and you can. Oh, that's amazing! It tells you like what the gain is over. That's really cool. Did they always have that? And I just found that out here. Amazing. I'm sorry. I just learned something today. That's cool. So yeah, anyway, that's a good example of rolling out, and that's what we like to call juicing it, right? Juicing the premium. It could have worked out great if we finished at 49 where we were going. Yeah, I mean, it would have looked cool. But you know what? Like, honestly, even better that it didn't, because what did I lose? I guess 70 cents on a share, something like that I have to make up as a difference. But I'll still be selling those CCs next week. Now, man, feel free to message as much as you'd like. You had 200 shares at 47. Oh, yeah, got it. You went with one in the money CSP at 42. Yeah, I did 40. I think I showed that last week. I had 45 and 46 on the way up. I can't remember if that was a roll or I just had multiple, but that was a good one for sure. So yeah, we like Hims around here. Hims is just, it's been printing money generally for the last year. Although there was a moment, man, like right here. Like, talk about the Reddit drop. Hims had it too. They went from a peak of 70 down to 24. So they saw that basically the same peak, but they came up a lot faster than Reddit and much more violently than Hood as well. So, and I think that's part of why the reaction was so strong here, was because of how violently we went up in the first place. But I mean, I owned it back here in the low 20s, and I sold CCs that locked myself in at $30, or actually, no, it was 27. It was like here to here, 27. And then boom, I was like, oh, good example of when it's kind of nice to keep a little bit of a position uncovered, because you don't know. So that was a fun one. You made money on all right. Well, then you won. That's all that really matters. Yeah. Yeah. I hear you on that one, Foob. That's funny. All right, let's get back. I keep losing my chat rooms because I got two. I got to figure out a better way on that. Until then, let's talk about Archer. All right, this was a common play this week. I think a lot of people did this one, and I talked about Archer earlier, but I'm back in it. So This was it's actually like, I don't know, $2,000 that it nets, or closer to that. This is like Vanguard pricing, worst case scenario. But I basically do everything on Fidelity these days. So yeah, 2 grand on 4,000 shares, which was kind of a big position to take, to be honest. And the thought process here was I would like to buy it, limit buy shares at $10. So if I can get paid 50 cents a share to not own it at all, potentially, well, that sounds great. Or if I just own it at the cost basis that I wanted to anyway, that also sounds great. So win-win, right? And the idea is I'll probably not cover these until we get back to a spiky point. And I know I'm bouncing around a little bit here. Let's go back to Archer again, because I just a refresher of like, look, we're all over the place. And this is where I always go back to: stocks don't only go down and stocks don't only go up. You know, when this is happening right here, right? From down here up to here, people are like, oh my God, it's going to 100. I missed out. And then it's like the next day, bah, nope, you didn't miss anything. You could have just waited a day and everything is right as rain. And then the next day, whoa, it's going up. Like this is the roller coaster of the algorithms just playing with our heartstrings and making us spend all of our money making poor decisions. But if you just have a little bit of patience and know your limits, because this is the beauty of TA. Like, to be honest, I've not really been a huge practitioner or believer in TA, but my boy Average Advisor has really kind of changed my mind on it a lot in the last few months of working together, because it's a historical view, right? And ultimately, TA is an approximation of the market participants' psychological thought process, right? You see FOMO, you see panic selling, and a lot of it's ultimately driven by algorithms and market makers. So you put all that together, and it's like, no, there is value to looking at this stuff. And I know to anyone who hasn't spent a lot of time really digging through, it just looks like gibberish. But like when you really start doing play by play, day by day, and keeping track of things and following a couple of tickers, it does start to make sense in that there's no good reason that it's been in this range at all, right? Like, well, no, there's a good reason it's been in this range. There's no good reason that it would all of a sudden fall out of the range. Now, obviously, if it has an announcement like HIMS had, that could certainly cause it. But generally, you don't expect that until closer to earnings or something like that. So really, I expect this to continue to bounce back and forth, and I don't see any reason why we wouldn't. In fact, we're starting to form like this big flag here now that I'm looking at it, and we're squeezing down to something. So until that point, I'll probably swing trade it again at $11, hopefully. We might, if you look real close, we'll bring this in here, we're like just touching the $11 point intraday. We're not really closing there at all. So I might even, now that I'm looking at this, I might consider a slightly lower limit. I did 11.05 last time, which was frankly a little greedy, but it was one of those like Redfin make an offer on my house, Zillow make an offer. It's, yeah, if you pay me $1 million, I'll sell you my house, right? If it's only worth $300,000, it's probably not going to happen. But if it does, I'll take your money. And that's kind of what I was doing here. And I don't even remember why I picked 11.05. I was like, I just want a little bit more, because it never just hits 11, right? Although I think it did like hit exact, no, it was 11.05. That's why I picked it. It was the peak here. That's why I picked it. So anyway, it worked out. I'll probably be a little less greedy on the next spike, though. Maybe I'll shoot for this like 1085, 1075 type range and just pare down the position a little bit, because I think it'll be good to see where we break out here. However, I will say, this is where we got to lean on each other's experience and expertise. I'll be talking to Average Advisor probably next week of like, hey, what do you think this chart is doing, and get his take on it, because I think he'll have probably some different takes on it than I have. He's going to be looking at the cloud a little bit more than I do, and things like that. So a lot of stuff going on there. Bob called out this week of buying and selling an ATM call on HIMS or Archer. Which one are you talking about? I might be slow on reading the chat on that one, but yeah, ATM calls are great, man. Oh, probably for Archer, right? Yeah. because he's in the same exact position I am, and I think actually Average Advisor is also. I think all three of us went in on that one because it just the premiums were too good and the swing is too obvious. Just like going to continue for a little while here. So, all right, cool. Well, if you respond, I will get you. Otherwise, we're going to move on to Bull, which has been an incredible ride. We've been anywhere from like $11 a week ago to I think we hit 1585, 1586 today. Something. I guess I can look at the intraday, right? Why am I not just bringing up the chart? Oh, come on. There we go. The chart's so messed up from the whole giant IPO disaster. Oh, was it not nearly? Oh, 15, 16? I thought we went way higher. I swore we got up to here. Okay, maybe not. Well, that's poor memory for me. To be honest, I was out playing pickleball most of the day. Yeah, no, we didn't. Huh. Okay. And after hours, I hear we dropped because of dilution. Somebody was mentioning they were like some sort of dilution. It's probably this. I haven't read it. It's going to be like blocked. I'm not going to be able to read this. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So, yep. That's why we've got this dilution event for raising funds. Honestly, it's kind of whatever. I don't really worry about this. It always has an immediate impact. A lot of people ask, when am I selling on Bull? And are you going to sell at 15? And yeah, I thought about it, but at the same point, it's like I'm not in a rush. Again, it kind of hit the target for the week. Anything over 14 seemed really good to me at the time. I don't think anyone is expecting a dilution to happen at the end of the day after hours like that. And it is what it is. I think we're gonna make our way on this one. I'll go back to TradeView here. But I was talking to Average Advisor on this one, and he's thinking, and I'm thinking about the same, probably back to this range that we were at, right? Like I think he was looking at here. It was this candle here, and that was like the next real target, which kind of creates that cup, right? That we've got going here, and we've been doing that. And with the warrants now expiring, like we were rocketing up to that. So there could be a little pullback for a couple days here. I mean, we're still right now, like still right here. This is a very reasonable pullback. But even with that dilution, I think, they have so much good news on the table, and riding the kind of the coattails of Hood here a little bit, that I don't see any reason why we don't end up back in this 16 range. If we get to 16 and like flatten out, I'll probably sell at least some. If we end up blasting past it, I will definitely sell by the time we get to like this peak of a candle here, at least a portion of it, because you got to take your profit at some point, right? So where are you going to do that? And this would be, I guess I'll draw the other line because I'll want to look at this in the future anyway. This will be basically where I'm thinking. Somewhere in this range is likely for where I'm going to be targeting profit. And I covered some, so I ended up selling 3,500 shares at $13 this weekend, and that's why you see Bull here as well. And that paid, $3,000. I was pretty happy with that, along with the CC. So $4,300 on, 4,200 in capital. That's a 10% hit, man. That's pretty good. What was it? 4,350 on 42,385 capital. 10% in a week. Yeah, actually, okay, that's not true. No, it is true. I bought those other shares last week. Okay, that is true. I forgot I was up to like 6,100 shares uncovered for a while because it was paying, this is ridiculous, it was paying 50% interest APR at one point. So yeah, that was like my favorite play. What's going on, Justin? Good to see you. 1 billion over 3 years? That's like nothing. That is nothing. Honestly, like I think as people, it sounds like it's a big number. I'd be happy with $1 billion over 3 years. Just saying, if anyone's got it laying around. If not, that's fine. I'll just keep investing in Bull. But for a company of the size of what they're doing right now, where they're approaching 10 billion in market cap, like that's just not, especially with the growth projection, along with what that allows them to do. super bullish, super bullish. Immediate impact, super bullish. That's the only way to look at it. Don't you like saying bullish when you're talking about bull? Let me move Tesla down here. Okay. And this is the one I got to talk quietly about because my wife's not supposed to know I bought Tesla. She'd be mad. Don't tell her, please. She hates Elon. It's funny because I have a Tesla and she's like, I don't like your car, but can you drive? Every time. This was a silly one. I just sold a couple of CCs for $100. Hey man, $20 is $20. It was clear they weren't getting a 325 in my mind. Like I would have been thrilled if they got called away, to be honest, because like I just would have rather been in a cash position. I don't feel bad about being in them at 315. I think it's fine. They're another one that's kind of in like a channel in that range right now. We look at them. They've been hanging out, and you know their channels don't last long anyway for Tesla. Excuse me. They had the dip as everybody else, but now they've been in this range here, where if we just zoom into kind of the recent past, we've been hanging around this 315 to like. I wouldn't really say the channel goes to 356. This was the Robotaxi hype. I would say it's really in this 335 range. It's tighter than it looks, but generally this is Elon fighting with Trump. This is Elon fighting with Trump again. So you got to ignore the outliers that are inevitable with Tesla, but like otherwise this is pretty clear to me of 315 to 335. And that's where a lot of people have been playing CCs and CSPs, and I think those for now it's a very safe range. And long-term bullish. Like I really do think we're in the cloud, which probably means something to average advisor that I wish I could speak more eloquently on, but I can't yet. It's definitely a position where not many people who are big Tesla fans are panicking right now. And I'm really interested in this earnings call. Their earnings don't always go well, even although they missed here and it just shot up, of course. But definitely they've had plenty of earnings that end up resulting in big old drops. It's probably 50-50 for Tesla, honestly, now that I'm looking at it. But I don't really plan on holding them into earnings. I don't like holding them into earnings. I do like playing them. I kind of stayed away from them for many months this year, but like I do like playing them. They tend to be range bound until some crazy catalyst, and then we're range bound somewhere else. And there's not a whole lot of bag holding because, to be honest, I'm not going to hang with them at 350. I'm out. If I have shares at 350, I'm just straight selling them. It's not a CC thing for me there. I'm just out. Do I think they'll go above that long term? Yeah, honestly, I do. But like because it's just so hated of a company that it doesn't take much to set the dominoes, set them off in a way that like they drop and they drop hard. And that it's not that they won't recover because they did, right? We see it here, but I don't want to bag hold for that long, especially because eventually my wife will find out and yell at me. So, that's what we're trying to avoid. All right. I think that's it for this week's trades. I do have NBIZ for next week open as a CSP at $50. No, I'm sorry, $46. They're at $50 now. Simple, small play. It was just a buck a contract, and I think it was a 2%er, right? 1 divided by 46 is 217. So yeah, real good, well above target. And Showcase definitely sold me on this. He's a big fan of it. I asked him to sell me on it specifically. Again, I love getting ideas from the Discord members as much as they may look at the trades that me, Average Advisor, and Bob Dog are making. Definitely, there's a lot of good ideas going on in there, and we got to take advantage. I'm no different. I'm going to take advantage as well. I've got some live GME CCs that I could have bought back a couple times now. Right now, they are at like 57, 55 cents. I'm just going to wait to 50% or till expiration. I do, if you look, let's look at GME for a second. I guess there's no reason not to. It's not like I got anywhere to be. We are definitely on like an upward trend. It's going to take a while for all the moving averages to catch up with where we're at after that big dilution well, not dilution, but the big crypto purchase. So, it's looked at as dilution, but they had a huge cash position, which is what they used to fund it, I believe. That actually may not be true. I have to look into that. And then we're just on a very slow trend back up to 25, most likely, which I'm looking now is basically what that bottom fib is at. And when we get there, I think it's very quickly back to the 27 range. And the 27 range is where it feels like it's supposed to be. There was this wild random run up before earnings that I had CCs on. I'm like, I guess they're getting called away. And then they, dropped back down to earth here and ended up expiring totally out of the money again. But yeah, they're a great monthly C play where you're not doing it weekly, because the weekly premiums they're not terrible, but like they're again like another big mover intraday that allows you to buy back pretty successfully throughout the month. I'll probably sell and rebuy and resell and buy and sell that same contract 3 times in a 1 month period, which makes them almost weeklies, right? If you do the math. So like nothing wrong with it. And I'll keep doing that. They're kind of fun to play. My position with them is a little bit bigger than I've had. I'm at 1,400 shares. I'll probably pare that down ultimately to like 500. I kind of like just keeping in touch with them. They're the root of all that is evil, but also fun and exciting with everything that they've been through over the years. So, it's hard not to want to keep in touch with history here a little bit. And there's the history right there. Oh man. Yeah, that was a good one. So anyway, GME, we'll keep playing with them a little bit here and there, but nothing too crazy with them. And then Lulu is hilarious because, they have been as low. I sold these 280 calls, or I bought these 280 calls, which I don't recommend. They weren't really leaps. They're coming up on expiration here in the not too distant future. But Lulu's been making a comeback. And I had a few people look at this chart. I'm like, is it just me? I don't think it's just me. But like, yeah, huge drop. And look at this. V-shaped, like really clean trend back up. And we're so far below those fibs. And I think we're going to eventually make our way back into this cloud. Now, the question is, will we do it in time for my calls to be worth anything? Probably not. I'm sure I'm hosed on that. But at this point, they're like $50, so who cares? But it is staging a little bit of a comeback, and they've had some big spikes, like 3-4%, which isn't crazy for most companies. But for Lulu, it doesn't take much. This is off of like a Vietnam tariff improvement. But like they have days. They do have days that look like that. And they do have days that look like that. Unfortunately, that's usually with earnings, so I'm not going to see that before I expire. So I know I'm cooked. I know it, and that's fine. But they're actually like, maybe I should have bought leaps at the bottom. I didn't know this was the bottom, but I sold puts, or bought puts, I should say, also here at the same spot of, where was it? Right here. And I bought them. I sold them here. And I'm glad I did, because I didn't sell them here. But when we started bouncing back, I think I sold them about here. And so that took a little bit of the sting out of the calls that are worth nothing. And I'm like, ooh, I didn't want to be red on both sides. So yeah, I wish I took the profit here. But like always, you never know. So this was like a stop loss from where we got down to. Although it wasn't, officially written in there anywhere. All right. So the last thing to talk about is question asked earlier, which is, when do you roll and how much do you hate rolling? Hey, Kodo. Oh, no. Oh, it's Kodu. Wait a second. Last week we had Kodo. This week we got Kodu, right? Or was it Cody? Was it you both times? I think it was the other Cody. I think it was Imposter, Bizarro Cody last time. I can't remember. You got 30 shares of Tesla at $30 cost basis. Wow, that's pretty solid. I mean, that's like a collector's item. Oh, it was you both times. All right, my bad. I thought it was Bizarro you for a moment there. Um, if you got them at $30, you got to ask yourself, like, what's the risk to holding on to them forever? It's like coins at that point, right? Like you got gold coins, and you might as well just see what happens to the gold. I don't know. What's another 10 years for $30? What did it cost you? Not a whole lot. But I guess at some point you got to sell, right? Or you can gift them to your kids. All right, so I'm getting sidetracked. Sorry. Deck. I hate deck. Deck is a shameful position that a lot of us got into. Probably, like, honestly, you think of the things that haven't gone well for the group, and this is like the only position that I'm like, it's kind of what's the phrase? A dark time for us, right? Like a demerit on the server. And it's not even that bad, honestly. If this is the worst that we all had to deal with, I mean, we all obviously got out pretty dang good. But I have been holding this one because I do hate selling and cutting losses. And I know I shouldn't. I should just cut the losses. If I had taken the loss early on, well, let's look at the chart. We might as well. If I had taken that loss early on with that drop, and we had opportunities to sell at like 110, 112, maybe we should have got out, right? Or me specifically. Again, you never know. And it looked like things were getting better all of a sudden. But 3 red days in a row was probably a sign that, like, oh, maybe you should get out at 110. And I'm like, no, new channel, right? And it's like, no, you're an idiot. And boom, we touched that bottom fib. We touched 97.50. And that, I remember, like, well, I'm taking them off the watch list today. I just can't even look at it. And you could argue that I should have cut my loss somewhere around here too. But at this point, I'm like, you know what? This is kind of just a fun experiment to see how much I can lower my cost basis by the time it comes time to sell this. Now, I originally sold 125 CSPs on this, and I think I sold them for 5. Well, let's look. I am not hiding anything from you all. So let's take a look at all of my deck trades ever. 125 sold for 527. So we can do the math real quick and see that like my actual cost basis right now is $7 less than 125. So basically at 118, right? With everything that I've done, which puts me, what is this? Oh, do I have it in wrong? Oh, no. I did 2. I'm sorry. I did 2 sets. Here. Gosh. Scared myself for a second there. What did I do? Did I buy these back? I must have bought them back. No. All right. I'm going to have to go clean this up because something doesn't look right. However, anyway, my cost base is I think now down to like 113. And the reason I rolled this out, this is bugging me. I wish I could like just take 5 minutes right now, but I don't want to drive you all nuts with me digging into this. So what I decided to do was I started to get aggressive, as my notes say, and I sold 103 CCs, which is both way below cost basis, but at the same time, I was of the opinion that I'm like, whatever, I'll take the loss. 117 is now 116 with this dollar CC. All right. And I was prepared to take, what would that be? A $13,000 loss, right? I was like, in my mind, I was like, whatever, we'll cut it. However, it started to shoot up again. And when it did that here, I was like, wait a second, can I roll this to 105? And I think I did that here actually. It was a few days. It might have even been last week. It was one of these spikes, and I'm like, let's roll. Let's see what I can get. And I ended up getting a really nice credit, like 346. It was, you got to subtract these two, right? So it was a $1,600 credit for another week at the time, or it was a week. I know. So this is one thing that gets, here it is. So I rolled it to, or a couple weeks, I rolled it to 718, and then I changed all the dates to whatever the current date is of expiration. Otherwise the spreadsheet breaks. So like this is how I keep track of it. Probably not the best way, but I really can't figure out a better way that doesn't make everything look ridiculous. So I rolled it out, and now I'm at a dollar. I'm at a 260 total value on the CC at 105, and then all of a sudden it was going up again, and I'm like, huh. I wonder if I can roll it again. And I looked all the way out to 815, and I could get another credit this time for just 50 cents a share, but that was all the way out at 115. So if they get called, I don't think I'm going to roll it again, unless like there's a really nice credit, but like I kind of want to get out of the position. And this is also after earnings, so it's unlikely that like there'll be any additional benefit for a while on a company like this, an equity like this. So at that point, what I did was I said, okay, at 115 plus this 3,200, that's actually above cost basis. This becomes a net positive trade, and we're going to ignore the top two here because I think this is like a buy and sell or something. I'm not sure what I did here, but anyway, it's like a net. I'll end up netting out like $3,000. Let's see if I sell these for 115, I can do the math here like this. Here we go. So if I get all this done, I net out $1,000 on this position. And again, this is where it's like, okay, I'll come out in profit, but at what cost? And I think I can look back on this honestly and say, if I had cut it and invested 100K in like anything else that I've been investing in, I probably would have already paid back that loss and already been flat and not been waiting till August 15th for another $1,000, right? So you do really need to weigh this out and think about this in terms of time. And it can feel really bad to take a loss, as I feel all the time in terms of whether or not I take a loss. That's why I still have some other crap in my portfolio. But like the time, the opportunity cost was kind of big, right? Like if you're doing 1% a week on 100K or 2% a week, it doesn't take 5 weeks to pay that back. And I've now held it for 5 weeks, more than 5 weeks. And I'm going to hold it for 10. And I'm probably doing that math wrong. It's actually even longer than that, I think, right? It's basically going to be 3 months. So I kind of just tied up all this money for what? To avoid saying that I took a loss. And to myself, I'd share this with everybody, right? I post this on After Hour. I talk about it here. But like, there's nothing, sharing this win is not really like clout or anything particularly amazing. It's actually a bad move. And so I'm saying this because one, I need to be better at this and learn from it. But maybe it helps others see that like, hey, yeah, like if you're talking about a loss and you don't know how long it's going to take, nobody knows, but like if you don't know how long it's going to take to recover, do you really want to give up the other gains that are out there waiting for you to just make up a loss? This is like an ego issue, right? Like if you have an ego about wins and losses, this is an example of when the ego is working against you because it feels bad to take the loss, but you could already be ahead. We care about math. We shouldn't care about ego. Again, I'm kind of being a hypocrite here, but hopefully it at least comes through of like, when you're looking at your own trades, are you being objective in terms of what the real cost is or the opportunity you could take? And especially deck. I don't even like deck. I got into this because like everybody else was in the play and I'm like, yeah, we've been winning. All right. I even remember going like, I don't know if I should do deck. I don't know if I should do this. And then I did it, and then this happened, and I'm like, yeah, this is what you get, right? This is a paying tuition, right? So anyway, all right, let's check. I'm behind on a couple of comments I know here. Wouldn't it have been easier to sell it and just yes? Oh my God, were you saying that after I was talking, or did you say that before? I'm sure you said it before, but yes, exactly. Having that capital, especially in a bull market, is huge. I 100% agree. We just looked at the NBIS trade, right, that I have lined up for next week, and it's what, 2%? 2% a week on that money would be huge. Huge. So kind of idiotic, but, nobody's perfect, myself included, for sure, and trying to learn. Yep, definitely feels like a massive opportunity cost, not worth it. Biggest hurdle, ego and not accepting yeah, man, this is it. But look, here's the deal. Like, when you look at how long I've been doing option trading actively, because really that's only since November of last year when I got laid off and I was like, it's time to do this full time. So there's a different level of learning that happens when you're doing something like this truly actively and regularly versus as a hobby. Because as a hobby, I would do that, right? I would rather just hold it and not think about it because I didn't have time to think about it anyway. But realistically, now that I have time to think about it, I should have turned the paper loss into a realized loss and moved on. But I think, that's a good example of cutting your loss. I don't really have a whole lot of others that, realistically, I do have others like these 5. You could say the same, but like the total value is immaterial. So like kind of, I don't know. I should definitely do it with Lucid. I'll probably sell this on the next spike up, which arguably was today. But like some of these are just kind of lotto tickets, honestly. Cooler's garbage. I need to get rid of Cooler. I can't even sell options on it anymore because they did an 8-to-1 reverse. Who does? I mean, you know how options work. You know why they did this? They did it because it's like the hot dog rolls and the hot dog packages. Yes, we're going to sell you 12 hot dogs in a package, but we're only going to make packages of rolls in 8s. And I'm sorry, you're just going to have to buy multiples of each, or inevitably not eat all the hot dogs and then have to buy more. It's a cycle of life that never ends. Like, I've been stuck in this for, I think, 20 years of buying either hot dogs or buns to finish the other one that I've got. And that's what they did. They knew it. They knew it because they're like, people are going to have to buy more shares if they want to sell options. So our stock price is going to go up. Really, really dislike that approach, to be honest. It's the worst. Kava, dude, I can't touch Kava. People keep asking me like, "Are you messing with Kava?" And I'm like, "No, I don't. No, I don't. I hate those types of stocks. I don't like the restaurant industry. Kava's in restaurant, right? It's not Carvana, right? That's Carva or something. Uh, yeah, it's the food business, right? Yeah, because they do restaurants and stuff. Now it's gonna make me hungry. We don't need to look at this. Yeah, I don't like the restaurant business in general because I don't understand it. And that's okay. I don't want to understand it. I don't plan to understand it. I generally like what I like, which is tech stocks, manufacturing. I ran manufacturing businesses for 10 years, running factories. I understand that well. So I kind of just stay there. And, I'm glad there are people who enjoy it and make money. You got Carnival Corporation here, which is cruises, right? Same deal. I'm not going to ever touch Carnival. I don't understand them. I don't like cruise ships in general, like by design. No judgment on those who do. But like, I'm not going to invest in them because it's just not something I ever will invest in time-wise to learn about. So, yeah. Enjoy that tangent. Carvana, yeah, CVNA. Okay. Oh, what have they been up to? Are they still in business? They're the ones that shot up. Somebody made $1 billion on them, literally, right? Was it the 5-year chart? Somebody was loading up at like $5, and that's insane, dude. Insane. Somebody sold Leaps here at like $10 for 2 years out and just made absolute bank. I don't know what crazy psycho did it, but actually there was a guy on Reddit who was talking about it for months. And I think it was in this range when he was talking about it with all his leaps. And I'm assuming based on his conviction that he's on a yacht somewhere right now. or just literally on their board of directors because he owns half the company. I don't know. That was pretty wild though. He was high conviction. But at this point, everyone kept talking about, they kept parroting the same story of how they cook their books and the accounting is all fraudulent. And it's like, maybe, but did you see the line that went up? Like, that guy made money. He doesn't care about the fraudulent books right now, I don't think. That's pretty wild. All right. Do I have any other trades to talk about that are live? No. It is kind of funny because it was my lightest week trade wise in a while. Like that total count of trades was 16, and that includes both sides of transaction. So actually, actively, it was less. It was probably, let's see, like this is one trade, right? So one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. So nine trades compared to the week prior where I think I had like 1,000, something like that. It wasn't 1,000. It was 33. Probably like 20, right? It was probably 20. And still, like, it ended up being one of my per day most profitable weeks for sure. I mean, in terms of, yeah, per day, yeah, I guess it was in line with some of the other weeks, but definitely up there. So pretty happy with that result. Definitely thanks to Bull. Definitely thanks to Archer swinging back and forth. Oh, wrong tab. And yeah, overall, very happy with where it went. So next week, I'm kind of thinking about, obviously, I've got a lot of open positions right now at fairly low on cash compared to what I've been recently. I've got a lot of uncovered positions. So deck is covered. Let me do this game again where we just go through covered, uncovered, 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 covered, uncovered. I actually uncovered Arcat last week. Uncovered Caliber's not covered, and they finished strong. Actually, I thought about selling them too, but at this point, I'm going to just see how things ride out with that the merger stuff. And then none of this stuff is covered right now, so I only have a couple covered positions from shares, and then obviously the CSP there. So not a whole lot in process. I might have to think about my approach here a little bit for next week. I'll probably recover Tesla. I'll look at recovering Google, but this is kind of like a buy and hold right now. Maybe I'll look at like some leverage stuff, GGLL or maybe RDTL for Reddit. I have been kind of narrowing my focus down a little bit to less stocks, although this list is still pretty full. Got to remember, like literally 5 of these stocks are junk that I'm not touching. So realistically, the total position count here is only 9. I'd like to get it to like 5. If I can mess with 5 routinely, maybe 6, 7, whatever. It's not that hard of a line in the sand. I think that'll be a good place to be to just best know those tickers, best know the entries, the exits, and ultimately make less trades is kind of part of the goal too. Because at one point when I had like 30, 40 trades, it was the list in Fidelity was I had to scroll to see everything. And I'm like, this is not how I want to be. Because then you start missing things. Like literally there'd be 2 trades I want to make at the same time. Couldn't. And I remember I actually missed out on like max profit basically for 2 different. I didn't have limits in yet. I was trying to get them in, and it was like, the other one moved against me already. It was a short-term peak, so I went for the bigger opportunity, and you know, it is what it is. But like definitely an area of frustration if you have too many positions. Need to pick some high conviction plays. Yeah, for sure. I think that's a beautiful thing about the Discord though, is if you're following the trade channel, you can get ideas for what you like. And if you look at like what most people are doing for position of your position size as a percentage of portfolio, like generally you want to be in a 10% range or less, which means you have at most 10 positions. However, usually a large portion is cash, like 20 to 30% at any given time. So really, if you're at 30% cash, well, that means you're probably at 7 positions, give or take, right? And feel free to have a couple of moonshots in there. Like Caliber is 2%. It's actually lower than that. So who cares, right? You can have those. And in those cases, I can't do it for Caliber based on the timing and the merger and stuff. But like Arcat, I got limit sales on that for $9 and it might hit. And if it does, cool. And if it doesn't, whatever. I'm not thinking about it really. I'm not losing sleep over any of these, to be honest. The only ones that I would lose sleep on are like the top three or four, maybe top three, top two, top two. I mean, if it was a 10% position or larger, I might be like, that makes me uncomfortable. UNH doesn't, but it should or could. I didn't even talk about UNH. I did talk about like the resetting of the cost basis, but I got in here at 320 on the dip. And I'm actually not down much percentage wise because it's down from 320, not the 325 high that it was. So it looked like for the day, 5% down, but my position was, I don't know, 2.5% down or 3% down, whatever it was. Still, it's one of those things where it's better to, you got to pick an entry. And I didn't want a CSP. I kind of wanted to just get back in and get the shares uncovered. So you want to be directionally correct. And if you can get it close, good enough, right? So do I try to focus on sectors or just stocks that I like? That's a good question. I'd say a little bit of both. I used to have a notebook. I don't have it here with me on my desk right now. I used to have a notebook around me that I listed out both the sectors that I liked and a couple of stocks by sector. And the fact is, I don't like every sector. So kind of where I've ended up is I do mess, maybe more so than I should, in healthcare. But like, it's paid me well between UNH, Hims, and Lilly. And because I don't mess with any other stocks in healthcare that I can think of off the top of my head. Like, I don't like biotechs, none of that crap. RXRX was like I don't want, ancient history that we don't ever need to talk about again. It was a small position anyway, like 2%. But, generally those three I know. And Lilly is part manufacturing. And the fact is I'm only in UNH because it was an absurd value opportunity that I think everybody would be like, why didn't we buy that in a year from now? And then, Lilly, Hims being the other one, it's just like very clearly fad based in what they offer. And that should do well right now with the weight loss drugs, with the way they market. I think they're kind of like the hood of healthcare is how they feel to me. They're dynamic, they're sexy, right? These other companies, UNH, Lilly, they're not sexy. Lilly's like frou, blah, blah, blah. We love everybody type stuff. But like Hims is like, we have something nice. Check us out. You need pills? We got you pills. So those are good plays. And then like DEC, like I said, I shouldn't be in DEC. I want to get out of DEC. I don't like retail generally. I don't like that market at all. And I don't know it. I buy all my clothes from Costco. Costco should be on the list, not DEC. Yes, I'm outing myself. Literally, my wife bought me like 4 more shorts from Costco today. I'm like, yes, thank God. So good. $10 a pair of shorts. I'm so old and unfashionable, obviously. And then we've got like the tech stuff. I like the tech stuff. I like both. I like Hood. Hood's not on the list, but I've owned Hood repeatedly. I do like Tesla, sort of, but like also don't want to be holding them long term at any given point. I kind of like the bob and weave, like, they're at 250. I'm buying for sure. You should buy it at 250. They're at 350. I'm out. Let other people take over from there. Yeah, I might go to 600. I don't know. Google, I think, is just like of the Mag 7, so undervalued. GME is a little memey, I know, but it's just, like I said, I talked about that already. Soft spot in my heart for them. But again, I will pare this position. Oh, this is 1,400 now. I will pare this position down to probably 400 or 500 shares in the future. Reddit is my love. Like, this is my high conviction play. This is where I've had $250,000 in, and I feel fine about it. I think that this will be a $300 stock in a couple years. I've said that from the beginning. I still say it now. I know it went to 80. I don't care that it went to 80. That my conviction and hypothesis on it has not changed from the beginning. You're going to get these people who say dead internet theory, blah, blah. Like, okay, yeah, you're probably a prepper. You probably have a bunker somewhere in the middle of Kansas off a trail. I don't know. Like, that's just not who I am. I think we're going to survive as a species and continue to want human interaction. Reddit's got that more than anywhere. So, very much a believer there. And then, yeah, a couple of meme things every now and again, right? So, if you really look at my portfolio, it is 7 major positions. I like to keep it to that. And there, if I go to my watch list, this is kind of where I want to play generally. There's a couple of weird things. I take stuff on and off. This was 50, now it's 37. 50 a couple weeks ago. I kind of pared it down. I like MicroStrategy. That's kind of the only Bitcoin exposure I've been happy with because of the volatility is kind of appealing to me. I don't like Lulu. I gotta get out of Lulu. I gotta take this off my list soon. Talked about NDIS. Meta is just kind of like on the list like SPY and QQQ and IWM. It's more of an informer. I'm not gonna buy Meta. Coles is... Damn it, I keep contradicting myself. Another meme type play, but like a value play that had really good information behind it, and it's held up. I'm just going to click on the chart. It's held up. Like buying it at 750 where I was calling it out in the server right there. I called it out. I called it out that day. I mean, anyone who held on to that is up. Oh, I can do it on Google now, right? It's up 25%. Not bad. I think that was the right value play. I don't want to be in it above where it's at right now. I will buy it again if it were to go to $8 again. I bought it at $8.40 here and then resold it at $9. I'll keep swinging that if it does that, but I will stay in that channel. If it goes above it, I'm out. If it goes below it, I'll probably buy. But otherwise, yeah, it's not where I want to be long term. And there's a timer on it, right? There's a couple of earnings cycles of like if they're turning it around, cool. If not, like eventually I won't be messing with them anymore. Roblox is another one that, I just know it's huge. My kids are into it. I told my son I would get it. I haven't yet. I'll probably get it this weekend and try it out myself. But like that chart's absurd. Oh my God, look at the 1 year on this. Like, just straight charging up and to the right, classic up and to the right. And then, yeah, more technology. We talked about most of these. Palantir, I'm never buying. I keep them on as an informer. Oklo, I like to look at. If it were for some reason to drop to like 35 randomly, I would buy it, but otherwise I'm not touching it. Sezzle, I keep track of, but boom, gone. We'll take that one off. And CoreWeave is one that I like the volatility. I like, and Showcase is a member that's hugely into this. Has done well with it. And this, again, channels, man. We got this 150 to 170 thing going on here. It's been consistently bouncing back and forth for the last month after the big run up to where it's at now. So that's kind of how I look at it. I rotate through, but generally you can see I've got a tilt towards mostly technology type stuff, a little healthcare. And you don't actually see any, now that I'm thinking about it, aerospace or operations stuff on my watch list because they're boring. I need a little bit of excitement, and I hate Boeing, so Boeing doesn't get to make my list because they were the worst customer I've ever had. But like, I look at them and they just don't do anything overall. They wildly swing, and I guess that's good, but otherwise I don't want to touch companies like this. Lockheed, right? What's LMT? Yeah, I don't want to mess with Lockheed. I look at them; they're kind of the same, boring. Yeah, there's crap premiums on these too, right? So like, if for selling options, they're not my deal. Oh, I like ASTS too. That was another good one. Mike M, what's going on? I did go to the Discord server and poked around. Seems messy to keep up on things compared to AH. Is it better after subscribing as there is less users? Well, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I think it's super well organized. I could show it to you, I guess. But like, all I can say is nobody leaves. There's got like, we're at 200 members, I think, almost now, and generally, I think turnover is like 7% or less. There's a free trial. You can do it. I wouldn't do it till a weekday, so you can see how it runs during the day. But very active. I think it's about as well organized as one can get um, on a platform that I can think of. It's moderated, but we're going to be adding moderators next month to kind of crack down on a couple of things. Not really crack down. It shouldn't really ruin the experience for anything, but I think it's pretty well organized generally. Let me see. Well, we can open up the free chat because that's there. Nah, I don't want to out anyone's names on it. We got enough scammers who are approaching people. What I would say is, if you're interested in trying it out, try it out. If you're not, that's cool too. It's for the people who want to be there. Have been enjoying it. I guess that's kind of my view on it. I'm not. I'm a terrible salesperson, by the way, if you couldn't tell. But yeah, it's a place to learn. It's a place to brainstorm. It's a place to bounce ideas off others, get feedback on things you're doing. And it's been good. It's been good. We've had very few complaints. We get feedback. We try to act on the feedback, and I think that's been good. So yeah, if you want to try out the free trial, try it out. If you cancel it, that's fine. That's cool. I prefer that we only have people who want to be there anyway. So truly, whatever. If you decide it's not for you, fine. I hope you find a place that is for you. But it's been a great experience for, I think, the vast majority of users. Cody, up 3,200 in premiums in 5 weeks. Oh man, you're selling for me. Look at that. Never did anything like that with After Hours. Well, look, I like After Hours simply because they gave me a place to build a online persona and write out. Gave me a creative outlet that wasn't X or Twitter or Reddit or whatever. And it's worked well for me, for sure. With the following I've gotten, people have seemed to like what I've written out there. But I only follow who I follow. I only look at those posts. I don't actually know how it works for a new user now. Like, how does anyone find anything on After? There's no way that After Hours is better organized because everything times out. And I can say that very, very confidently, because whenever somebody asks for hey, does anyone follow somebody who does this or that? I get tagged a lot on wheel stuff, selling options. And it's oh, let me dig through my own profile to try to find a post. Even if you save them, all right, I have to go down 40 posts and then share the link to that. And then what are you going to do? Respond to a 3-month-old post? You can. People sometimes do. But generally, that's a disaster. The chat, I think they're trying to make it more with the chat and things like that. But yes, definitely a lot of noise on After Hour. Until you cultivate your following, it's a free for all, right? It's just whoever has the most engagement kind of gets out there. You see them, but nobody could possibly argue that it's more organized than our Discord that has specific channels for all of the different things that we talk about, right? That's just there's no way. Doing your own options the first couple hours, and hey, 10K a week, man, that's cool. I don't know, percentage. I care more about percentage generally. I think that's the most important thing. But that's great. Keep going. I'm certainly not trying to say that's not impressive. But yeah, if it's $10,000 on 20 million, cool. But you could do that in SGov, I think. All right, cool. Any other questions, let me know, but I'm going to wrap up here. I think I actually went a little bit longer than usual, gibbering on a bit here. So I'd apologize for the tangents, but I guess that's kind of part of what we do here, isn't it? Overall, great week. Happy with it. Looking forward to next week. I prefer full weeks, to be honest. It just feels a little bit less stressful, less time pressure that you feel like you have to make something happen. Some good learnings this week, some good takeaways, some good results. And overall, I think that's gonna do it for today. Thanks for tuning in, Justin. Always good to see you. Happy 4th to you and everybody else as well. I'm not sure we've got all Americans here. Probably do, considering the timeliness, right? So certainly nicely done on the week for the server. You guys crushed it out there. And we'll catch you on the next call. We'll do this again next week. We'll be back to Friday next week. Obviously, I did it today for, I'm sure, what were obvious reasons. And I look forward to talking to you then. Until then, be safe. Don't blow your fingers off. See you Monday.